What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of But That's Just Me. I'm your host, Trone,
It's your co-host Gary.
and we are here to talk about my favorite team, your favorite team, our favorite team, the Miami Heat. So we're gonna get right into it. We have four games coming into this week, and we're gonna touch on those games. But for a good part of this good part of this episode, we're going to talk about what we did during the trade deadline, or what we didn't do rather on the trade deadline. So yeah, we're gonna get into that. But first, let's get into our scoring leaders, our rebounding leaders. So we have Jimmy Butler. He's still leading us with 21.9. I honestly don't see that changing. He's been leading us the whole time, but the way Bam been playing lately, he might catch up to him. I don't know yet, but we'll see. Um, so we have that. We have at rebounds. We have Bam. He's leading us on rebounds at 10.1 rebounds per game. The next closest person is Jimmy, and he has six. So I don't think that's going to change unless we end up picking up a center in the buyout market, or when your seven come back. Just depends on how he plays. But
Mhm.
we'll see. We have Kyle Lowry. He's leading us at 5.3 assists a game. I can honestly see that changing because I don't think he's going to play the rest of this season for us, if I'm being completely honest. And Jimmy's right behind him with five even. So we'll see though. We have Bam, who is leading us in blocks with zero point 0.8. And at steals, we have Jimmy, who's leading us with 2.1. And that's probably not going to change either. So for our BTJ MVP of the week, I'm this week we're not gonna have one. But if we did have one, it would have been Bam. Bam
Mhm.
would have been. It definitely would have been Bam. He's been playing out of his mind. He's been playing very well. Just what us as Heat fans have been expecting from him. He's definitely starting to show that. So shout out to Bam. I guess he by default he would be the BTJ MVP of the week, but we gonna hold off on one for this week.
Right.
So yeah, we're gonna jump right into our games. Like I said, we know we're gonna talk about the games, but this episode is more so focused on what was done at the deadline, or lack thereof, what was done at the deadline. So we had the game against Milwaukee. We didn't win that game. We lost 123 to 115. Giannis was back for that game. The previous two games that we played against them, Giannis didn't play. Neither did Chris Middleton, or a whole bunch of people was missing. But those are the type of games that the Heat end up losing for some reason. But luckily, we were able to get those wins. But we didn't get the win this time. We had Jimmy. He had 32 points. Bam, 11 rebounds. But Giannis went crazy with a triple double. He had 35, 15, and 11. So I mean,
Mhm.
clearly nobody was guarding
Yeah,
Giannis.
great
Clearly,
train, bro.
yeah. I mean, all the time. But and it's weird because typically we usually play well against Giannis. Like Bam usually can play defense against him pretty well. Um, but not this game. So I mean, it is what it is. But after that game, we ended up going on a 3 game win streak. We beat Indiana 116 to 111. Bam had 38 points, was going crazy. I think he was like 10 for 13 that game, not missing. That he was just crossing half court, just pulling up from mid range, which is what we want him to do. Um, and I know, like for me personally, like I talk well early on, I would like talk a lot of trash, I guess, against Bam, and not in a bad way, but just my expectations for him. So for me, I like the fact that he was, you know, going, just pulling up, um, getting his rebounds. He didn't have as much because Caleb led us in rebounds with 11, but I like the fact that he was being aggressive on the offensive end. Um, so and that's just my side of it, like how I like to see Bam play. Um,
Yeah.
but so shout out to him, 38 points. We ended up getting that W. Then we had these last two games against Houston and Orlando. Now the Houston game, we ended up winning 97-95. Tyler had 31 points, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. But that's not what was important about that game. So we're talking about Houston, the Houston Rockets. I think they're the worst team in the league, if I'm not
They
mistaken.
definitely are. They definitely are.
And we had Houston Rockets took us to the brink. Um, they ended up what's his name? Jalen. What's the what?
Jalen Green.
Yeah, Jalen Green. Yeah. He we were up 95-93. They had an inbound pass. Jalen Green, he took it coast to coast, hit a layup, tied us up. Well, I think it was like 2.5 seconds left on the clock. So in my head, like as I'm watching the game, in my head, I'm like, okay, I know how the Heat operate in these situations. They didn't need a three, but typically they will go for the three when they don't need the three. So just in that moment, I'm thinking, all right, they're probably gonna go for a three. We're probably gonna miss and go to overtime. And that's just me being a skeptical Heat fan, after
Mm.
years and years of seeing games happen like that. But to my surprise, Jimmy, they Gabe threw the alley to Jimmy from out of bounds. Jimmy went up. He got up high too. I never seen Jimmy jump that high before, but Jimmy got up high, threw it down. I think it was like zero point 0.3 seconds left. Not enough time for Houston to score. But the fact that that game went down to the wire like that against Houston, I guess I shouldn't be too surprised because like I know how the Heat operate. Like just from me being a fan, as long as I've been a fan, like I've seen the way that they play. Like they typically play down to teams that they're supposed to be a lot better than. Um, so was there like anything that you noticed like just in that game that made you just like, yo, like what's going on?
Um, I think as long as this team has an offense worse or one of the worst offenses in the league out of all 30 teams, I think situations like these are bound to happen.
Yeah.
I, these are NBA teams. These are all professionals. So
Right, right, right.
if you're not scoring, it don't matter how much defense you're playing. Like you, you gotta put the ball in the basket.
Nah, that's
So
facts.
yeah, and it's just the inconsistency of the team. Like now we don't have Lowry
Mm-hmm.
for obvious reasons with the way they're handling his situation and him
Right,
being, I guess, dissatisfied.
right.
Um, I mean, now we got Gabe. I think he's playing. He's definitely a bit of an upgrade from what
Yeah,
Lowry
for
has been
sure.
doing so
Yeah,
far.
facts, facts, facts.
But yeah, again, it's like sometimes this team forgets how to shoot,
Yeah.
and yeah, as long as that keeps happening, these situations with teams that they should be beating, there's gonna be a lot of close games, a
And
lot of close games.
and the crazy thing is like the craziest part is that that's always been the Heat. Like minus from when I I'll say more so when when D Wade left, when the big three left, and right around the time Chris Bosh got like started having his medical issues. Um, that's been the team. Like there's no one person that you're like, yo, go out, give me 30 consistently. Um, and we would go through these spells, like I spoke about it on like earlier episodes, but like we would go through these spells where it's like we can't score the ball. And I don't know what the reasoning for that is, but those cold spells, like, and that's why like I've always said, like, yo, we need somebody like Carmelo Anthony. That's just gonna and if not Carmelo Anthony, somebody with his mindset, because he's like, okay, well, nobody's scoring, everybody's focused on playmaking. I'm gonna shoot the ball. And like I can appreciate that sometimes. 'Cause sometimes some of these players be wilding. Like sometimes Tyler, he'll be wilding. Like he'll be super cold, like 2 for 9, and he'll keep shooting. But I mean, you also have to respect that because who else is doing it? Like nobody else is gonna give you those shots. Like they're too busy trying to play playmaker. And then you get into situations like this with Houston where nobody's scoring. Like, yes, Tyler had 31, but clearly that 31 wasn't enough because we're the top 4 defense in the league. And like I said last week, I don't know how we top 4 defense, and and we're still like teams are just
Bottom third.
scoring. Yeah, like teams
Yeah.
are just scoring. So like that was weird, but I am happy we were able to get the win. Spo, he drew up a really good play for Jimmy, and that kind of rolls into this game against Orlando, where we did end up winning 107-103 in overtime. Bam was going crazy with the rebounds. He had 17 rebounds, which is what I like to see because, like you mentioned last week, where we struggle against those lengthy teams, and you mentioned specifically Orlando being one of those lengthy teams, but we were able to. He was able to get 17 rebounds, which is amazing. Now, granted,
Mhm.
um, they had just traded Mo Bamba, which was one of their lengthy players, but they still got Wendell Carter Jr., Jonathan Isaac, who recently came back. So they still have their those lengthy players on their team. But to see Bam scoring 17 rebounds, which is something that I think he can do all the time, um, and I've mentioned that probably too many times, but he can definitely get those type of numbers. But anywho, Tyler, he had 23 points, so he was our leading scorer. Bam, he didn't score great. He had like 13 points, I believe. 13 points, 17 rebounds, which is, I mean, just compared to what he's been doing, lately. um that's something that we want to see him get back to, which I think he will. Like I don't foresee him only scoring 13 points too many more times during the season, because he seems like he's confident. Um, but yeah, we ended up going to overtime against Orlando, who didn't have the Heat killer Terrence Ross because they bought him out. So
Yeah.
even without him, um, they're still, we still ended up going to overtime. So did anything like stick out to you, during that game?
So one of the things I did notice was that throughout the game, the one of the things that led to Bam getting all those rebounds is he was not switching as much as he usually does.
Right,
So he was inside the paint a lot more, which led to him getting all those rebounds.
right,
Um, Another thing with his points, he didn't take as many shots as he usually takes.
right.
He had like 5 shots taken by the end of the first half, which is I don't know why he has 5 shots taken. He
Right.
should be taking at least 17.
Yeah,
But
word.
um yeah, there's that. And again, Tyler was struggling early
Hmm.
throughout the game offensively,
Right.
but he definitely picked it up. Him and Jimmy picked it up late in the fourth,
Yeah.
which was very promising. Tyler was hitting his floaters.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was
Yeah.
he was attacking the basket a lot. Jimmy drawing his fouls like
Right.
usual.
Right. And yeah, I noticed
Um,
like there were two back-to-back shots where Tyler just went straight down the middle of the lane, just threw it up for the floater. Which, I mean, if they give him that shot every time, he needs to take that shot every time. Like he doesn't always have to shoot the three.
yeah, that's one shot that he should be taking a lot more because he usually makes them.
Mm-hmm.
And they also give it to him a lot. I don't
Right.
know why, but they
Right.
he they do give him to him a lot. Instead of him settling for those fading contested jump shots,
Mm-hmm.
especially against lengthy teams.
Right.
Um, because he has short arms, so
Right,
they
right, right,
contesting his shot all the time.
right.
Um, so yeah, I think he should. It was promising the fact that he was driving a
Hmm.
lot and taking those floaters.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and just the energy towards the end of the fourth. Because at one point the Heat were down like 10 points with like 3 minutes left. I thought it
Yeah.
was going to be over at that point,
Right. Right.
and then again they came back,
Yeah. And then.
got that to OT,
Hmm.
and
And
that's
I
when
noticed, and I know I think Jimmy took the last shot in regulation too. It was like a corner three, that missed, but I think there was like point 0.7 seconds left, so it was kind of like a catch and shoot type of situation where I mean you can it's not much you can do. Like it's either it goes in or it doesn't. And at least we were tied up to take it to overtime. But I like the fact that in overtime we were still scoring points, like we were still scoring buckets, which I've also seen the Heat not do that. Like there's been times where they wouldn't score in overtime, or like it's like they're tired or like they're burnt out. Um so I definitely appreciate the fact that they in overtime it looks like they came to play. So
Mhm.
that was a good win. Um and on Twitter, like because I follow like a lot of Heat fans and stuff, and on Twitter same thing. And like you had text me during the game, it's like, yo, they like stressing me out right now. And I'm like,
Yeah.
bruh, yes. like and that was the consensus. Like, the fact that we have these games where we're just not scoring, or we're going down to the wire against these kind of teams. But in the same breath, in the playoffs, stuff like that, like that's what happens in the playoffs. When you get to the playoffs, though, you have those games where like the way the style of play in the playoffs is more slowed down. So there's
Mhm.
a lot more games like that in the playoffs than there are the game where we blew out the Pelicans. Like we're not going to see a lot of those types of games in the playoffs. We will see a lot of these types of games in the playoffs, which is good because now we get to work on end of game situations in real life situations as opposed to just doing it in practice.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot more game planning in the playoffs. I I think the close games is a good thing and a bad thing for the
Hmm.
team. Um, Obviously it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing because you should not be. It should not be that close against like those lower level teams
Yep.
in the East. But it's a good thing because it helps them, like you said, work on late game situations when it
Hmm.
comes to playoff time.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I think that I think they will be fine. They just need to sign. They just need one more piece,
Right.
one more a wing. I think maybe another guard
Hmm.
that could help energize the offense here and there.
Right. And that,
Um,
and honest, like thank you for that too, because that's a perfect segue into our next topic. So on Thursday, February 9th, that was the trade deadline. I was following it very close to see if we were gonna make any trades. We did make one trade. We made one trade, got rid of Dwayne Dedman.
yeah,
Uh, and last week that was one of the things we talked about too. Getting rid of Dwayne Dedman, and we kind of knew that he was on his way out, especially after that the whole massage gun
incident.
situation. Yeah, like we knew we knew it was bound to happen. um,
Yeah,
so we traded him to the Spurs for cash considerations. And there was a lot of jokes,
yeah,
like on Heat Twitter talking about cash considerations, like getting a jersey and everything, and like how we're undefeated since trading for cash considerations and everything.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, the trade deadline, it came, it went. We didn't trade for anybody.
Yeah, man. I don't know. I was a little pissed off that no trades happened.
Hmm.
Was apart from the Devin one. Um, it's I think it's also the fact that a lot of the players we have don't really have trade value except for like our shooters or like our 3 stars,
Yeah.
which are Bam, Jimmy, and Hero. But I don't think unless we get in like a bona fide superstar, I don't
Hmm.
think the Heat are even entertaining the fact that or to trade him.
Right.
But
Yeah, I don't think that's happening either. And for Kyle, I for sure thought that he would be on his way out. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't think he's gonna play another game with the Heat. Right now they say he's out with knee injuries, but I mean if you follow all the reports, they were
yeah.
saying like and like you mentioned this early last week as well that they weren't like he wasn't seeing eye to eye with the Heat. Um I don't think he's gonna come back. I'll be surprised if he did come back to the team.
Hmm.
So that was one of the people I expected to go. Same for Duncan Robinson, but for Duncan Robinson, it's a little tricky because he is like rehabbing from surgery. So, and I mean, and Struess hasn't been playing up like his best game of basketball lately. So you're right. Like I don't think a lot of players on our team have trade value or
Hmm.
positive trade value, or like we would be trading them for someone equally as bad, or like with as bad a trade value as them. Um, so yeah, like I was disappointed too because I was home, I was following ESPN. They were doing like the countdown and everything, and I'm just like, okay, at any second now, breaking news, trade alert, Miami Heat trade for so and so, and it was none of that. And I don't know if it was just for lack of trying, like if they just didn't want to trade for anyone, but I would have liked to see something.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I was scrolling through Twitter too. I saw a funny post. It was like that Pat Riley had fell asleep or something, which is why no trades happened. But it's just the fact that no moves were made,
Right.
which could be a good thing and a bad thing.
Hmm.
Um, there are some. I did see some good options on the buyout market
Oh yeah,
that I
yeah,
think would be great pickups for the team. Like I recently, Stanley Johnson got I think waived by the
he
Spurs.
got released. I think.
Yeah,
Hmm.
which will be a good addition
Yep.
with his shooting, and I'm pretty sure he could play a good defense as well, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken.
Yeah.
Um, could definitely help us in that area.
Right.
Um, also, I heard rumors about Westbrook being interested
Yeah.
join between the Bulls and the Heat,
Yeah.
but
That's gonna be a. I
it's
mean,
a little iffy, like with the way our team is constructed. But
yeah.
I think we need that Energizer Bunny. We
I
need that.
agree. I agree. Because the one thing about Westbrook is that for all of his faults that he has, one thing about Westbrook is he's gonna bring 100% every game. We won't have to worry about well, we'll have to worry about him making the shots, but we won't have to worry about him taking the shots that we don't have, like aside from Tyler Hero. We
Mm,
know Westbrook, he's gonna try to take those shots. We know just with his style of play, he'll be able to like, dump it off to Bam or dump it off to Jimmy or anything of that nature. So that's one player that I would like to get. Like you mentioned, it is between us and the Bulls. If you believe reports, I don't even think the Bulls are in the playoffs, um, like in the standings right now. But I also don't know. They could very well be. But I I like Westbrook, and I wouldn't mind Westbrook on the team if he comes in and plays like Westbrook. Now, that brings me into my other point because Westbrook also misses a lot. So we would have to
mm.
have someone with Bam that can help Bam get those rebounds. And that leads me into another player that got bought out recently or is in the process of getting bought out, and that's Serge Ibaka. He's not, the same Serge from, a few years ago. Um,
Appreciate that.
but but he has the length and he can definitely, get us some rebounds. They probably won't play him along with Bam. Like I doubt that'll happen. It'll probably end up being like a backup center situation. But if we get Westbrook, we probably will still have to like upgrade other places as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we still have two roster spots to fill
Yeah, we do.
after that Deadman trade.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think if they were to actually get a guard from the
Mm-hmm.
buyout market, they should do something along the lines of point guard, small forward combo, or point guard power forward combo,
Mm-hmm.
just to fill those spaces.
Right.
Uh, but yeah, I think Russell Westbrook, he's hit or miss, but I think his playmaking IQ could help us,
Mm-hmm.
even though it could be iffy as well.
Yep.
But the fact that he's willing to take shots is that factor that could
Yep.
help us. Sure.
Yep. And um, a few other players that I've seen too. Um, and this would probably be like my wild card pick. Um, Patrick Beverly too. I think he's one of those players that'll completely buy in to the Miami Heat culture. Like he fits that mold. We won't have to worry about him not playing defense because we know at the very least he's gonna play hard as far as defense is concerned. He's probably not gonna do much for us on the offensive end, like at all. So that
Yeah.
probably so that probably doesn't help us, especially from based on what we talked about earlier. But
Yeah.
that is a player that I wouldn't hate it, especially if we end up not playing Lowry for the rest of the year and we end up starting Gabe or something. He could probably be like a nice bench player, to go along with Oladipo and just trying to throw like start fits against the opposing team backcourt or bench backcourt. So yeah, that's one of the other players that I think, and my last wild card pick that I don't think will actually happen, but I wouldn't be mad if it did. And I put this on like Bleacher Report one time, and yeah, the other Heat fans they didn't like this one, but Hassan Whiteside. I've
Hmm.
so me personally, I've
Okay.
always been a fan of Hassan Whiteside strictly because he plays like a 7 foot center. He's shot the ball like he has like a little mid range, like it's not Bam level mid range, but
Yeah.
for the most part, he get alleys, he get rebounds, he get blocks. That's all we need, and he is a center. So if he did come back, he would like obviously be our backup center. I don't see him playing along with Bam, even though the way that Bam is playing now, he it might fit, but just knowing Eric Spoelstra, I don't think he'll do that. Like I don't think he'll play them together because he never even played them together when Whiteside was on the team before. But then again, that was early in Bam's career. Like he wasn't really what he is now. But yeah, I like Whiteside. And matter of fact, you know what? But that's just me moment of the week. Bring Hassan Whiteside back to Miami. Bring him
uh,
back right now. Hassan Whiteside. Don't give him number 21, no, because the number 21 on the Heat is bad luck. But bring us on Whiteside back. You might not agree, but
yeah.
that's just me.
Yeah. I might have to disagree with that one. I think that from the last stint that Whiteside had with this team, he's just he didn't provide the energy that the Heat culture
I know.
provides or presents.
I know. I
It's
know.
just, and also it's a very rough. He too slow to pick on pick and rolls.
Yeah, he
And
is.
if we play against a team that has a star point guard, we're gonna get cooked. I already see it. I already see it happening. We're gonna get cooked. But I was thinking, I really thought you was gonna say John Wall at first, which that this is it brings me to this point. I
Mhm.
think Instead of Whiteside or Patrick Beverly, which I think will both be useless. I think I think John Wall. If we don't get Westbrook, I think John Wall will be a good pickup.
Right.
Now, like we're already bottom 30th offense. Like it, no other point guard in that buyout market is gonna provide better offense than either Westbrook or John Wall.
I
So
agree with
at
that.
this point,
I agree.
just pick one of those two up, and hopefully they just perform. I guess it's just
Right. Yeah.
at this. I'd rather take the playmaking with some kind of defense than having Pat Bev,
Yeah. No offense.
buy into the culture and
Yeah.
then just fouling people around the court and providing nothing on offense, and then Hassan getting cooked on the pick and rolls. I don't know.
But look, all right. So look, I'm looking up Hassan Whiteside stats. Right. Let's listen to his stats. Right. And
Right,
his
right.
what's this? In his 4 years with the Heat, or 5 years with the Heat rather, he averaged 11, 14, 17, 14, 12, and 12 points per game. Um, and obviously with the 12 points per game, his minutes had gone down because Bam started getting his minutes. Now, look at his rebounding: 10 rebounds, 11 rebounds, 14 rebounds. I think that's the year that he won the rebounding title. 11 rebounds and 11 rebounds. So he consistently averaged within the double digit rebounds. And like I said, and I'm halfway. No, I'm not halfway joking, but that's just me. Moment of the week. Bring a song Whiteside back. But
Yeah.
um, the thing, like the thing that drew me to him is because like I do like when big men play like big men. Like I don't mind the shooting, um, shooting sometimes, but like I like when big men play like big men. So with Whiteside, like, cause he was getting triple doubles with blocks, um, and somebody had posted, um, that they wanted to see him, they wanted to see Whiteside like come back to the Heat, and he says something to the effect of, "I would love to go back to the Heat, and there's still like a lot of records there that he doesn't think would ever be broken." And what I think he was talking about was the fact that he had a 30 and 20 point, a 30 point, 20 rebound game. I don't know if a lot of players on the Heat is getting 30 points and 20 rebounds. I don't even know a lot
Okay.
of players in the NBA that's getting 30 points and 20 rebounds. But
True.
obviously, Whiteside, if he did come back, he wouldn't be starting. Like he would not start. He'll
Mhm.
probably only get maybe 15 minutes per game, maybe. And that's depending on what they decide to do with Yurtseven, if they're gonna play him with Bam or if they're gonna have him come off the bench to play behind Bam. But no, you're right with John Wall or Russell Westbrook. Like I mentioned the Pat Bev thing because like Pat Bev, he's always spoke up the Heat. He was one of like the only TV analysts last year that said he thought the Heat could beat Boston. Um, he praised Coach Spo, with saying how he likes how he coaches and stuff and how the team plays defense. So that's mainly the reason I brought up Pat Bev, because he is like he's that type of player. But you're right, John Wall, Russell Westbrook would be perfect. But the thing that we run into with that, especially having Tyler as our starting shooting guard of Westbrook and John Wall, who are they stopping? You know, like and then that's where we run into those issues with Bam, where he's because we think Bam switch now. He's really gonna have to be switching if we get a John Wall, Russell Westbrook, and at least with Westbrook, he'll put the attempt in to play defense and like play hard on the defensive end, but he's you remember what we thought we were getting with Kyle Lowry? Like
Mhm.
that's not what Westbrook is bringing to the table. That's not what John Wall is bringing to the table. Maybe Pat Bev does that, but it's just gonna be 4 and 5 on the offensive end, and that's if Jimmy wants to shoot the ball. Because if he doesn't want to shoot and he want to play playmaker, then it's gonna be
Three on
three on
five.
five. So
Yeah,
it's it's I don't.
yeah. It's just, yeah, like I said, I'm disappointed
Hmm.
with the fact that there were no moves made
Yep.
during the trade deadline,
Yep.
and now we stuck with we either stay with this team
Hmm.
and wait till everybody comes back healthy, like Duncan, Depot, and Yurseven,
Hmm.
or we make a move during the buyout market
Yep.
and pick up a wing and a guard, or a guard and another big to complement Bam.
Yep.
But yeah, if I feel like if we stay with this current roster,
Hmm.
hopefully they figure out how to shoot again. If that
Yep.
happens, then I think we're in a good spot.
Yep.
But again, if they never figure that out, then I think that they're not getting far. I don't
No.
think they're getting that far.
Nah. Not if they don't figure out what needs to be done. You're right. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. And but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Coming from the release of this episode until we're back. And speaking on that, next week's episode, All Star Weekend, we won't there won't be an episode for next week, but we'll be back the following week. To wrap up our two games that we play this weekend, to wrap up All Star Weekend with our All Star Bam Adebayo. Just to see how he does. Hopefully, they give him playing time during the All Star game, because when him and Jimmy made it before, they barely played, which was weird. But I mean, I think Boston's coach is gonna be he'll be the All Star coach for the East. So if Bam plays on Giannis's team as opposed to LeBron's team, which I think LeBron is gonna pick Bam when they do the draft, uh, we might see Bam get some playing time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. It should be good, but we won't be here for that episode. But we will be back the following week to to uh talk about All Star Weekend and these last games, and these games that we're playing um for these next 2 days are gonna be Denver. That's Denver's number one in the West.
Tough game.
Jokic is killing right now. Jokic is on a tear. Like, he's looking like he's trying to be 3-time MVP, which he might. He might. I
Yeah.
don't know. So yeah, we have Denver, and then we have Brooklyn uh on Wednesday. And Brooklyn, they had a they had a rough week. Rough week. They lost Kyrie, and they lost um KD. KD is
Yeah.
with the Suns, Kyrie's with the Mavericks. But see, here's the thing about Brooklyn, right? The team that they have now, if Ben Simmons decides to play basketball, they wouldn't be a terrible team. Um, because they have like the pieces, and they have a pretty decent defensive team as well.
Mhm.
So that's one of those games that we're gonna have to look out for. That's one of those games that's gonna tie into the Indiana game and the Houston game. In the Houston game. I'm sorry, the Houston game and the Orlando game. Sorry about that. That's gonna be one of those games. We'll go in there, think, oh yeah, we just gonna beat them. It's right before All Star break. Let's just go win, and then they'll end up lighting us up.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna definitely keep an eye out on that game, and like on two different episodes, I had my friend K Smith. He's a Brooklyn Nets fan, and after the KD trade, because he's gonna be on another episode in a couple of few weeks. But after the KD trade, he was saying that he he think he might need to come on the episode earlier, and he's gonna
Yeah.
rant. So um, I don't know. Maybe when we come back from All Star break, we'll have him on, or maybe I'll just wait until he's originally scheduled.
Yeah.
to be on the episode. But he's definitely gonna rant. Brooklyn, they be putting him through it. But you know, more importantly though, we do pay Brooklyn right before the All Star break, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So that's gonna be one of those
Mhm.
games, and hopefully by the time we get to that point, we would have got some players on a buyout market. Hopefully, when we come back to talk to you guys, there would have been some positive changes for the Heat, some
Yeah.
wins in the win column for the Heat. Hassan Whiteside is back for the Heat.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully we come back with some good news. You know, moving forward. Um,
Yeah. Based these next 5 games are gonna determine if we're gonna be a playing team or we're gonna we're gonna actually do something in the playoffs. So I'm
yep,
just gonna wait and see.
yep, yeah. But but yeah, that's all I got to get off my chest. Disappointing deadline. Hopefully we don't have a disappointing buyout market. Hopefully we do what it is that we need to do, and we're ready to you know come back to the second half of basketball and play like we're actually trying to win something, like we're trying to go far in the playoffs. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, you got anything else before we wrap up?
I think that's it. I touched everything I wanted to touch on, and
All right,
yeah.
all right, bet. So thank you guys for listening. Once again, I'm your host Trone. It's the co-host Gary, and we'll catch you guys in 2 weeks. 2 weeks away. So hopefully you guys enjoy the All Star game, enjoy all the festivities, dunk contest, 3 point shootouts, um, Rising Stars game, Celebrity All Star game if that's what you're into too. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy all of that. We'll be back in 2 weeks. To pick up where we left off and finish out the season strong. So thank you guys for listening. Thank y'all for tuning in. Peace.
Peace.